Welcome to Burnin Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy.
Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Happy Monday. Hope the weekend treated you all right. Hope the weather treated you all right. And I gotta tell you, we really have dodged a bullet out here. Like, really dodged a bullet. And it's been a year of surviving for old Matt McKinley here. 2021 and now 2022. I survived the pandemic, and now I've survived my first tsunami advisory. And I can't tell you how grateful. I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank my family for sticking with me through the hard times. I was concerned when we got the COVID, slightly, very slightly, but there was some concern in the back of my mind. But the tsunami advisory for the West Coast, and I'm considering myself the West Coast because we'll just follow my logic as we go along through here. I feel like I'm entitled to that. So I live on Pacific time zone, or in the Pacific time zone. So that to me is West Coast, and that's my story, and that is my lived experience. And if you don't like that, you're a bigot and a racist. So let's just get that out in front right now. And but anyway, I come to find out about this. So I rolled into work. It was frosty, cold morning. It's finally kind of warmed up a little bit. I don't think has it cracked freezing yet. Check the old telephono, and we'll see. But it might have. Yeah, we're at 34. So we're, balmy 34 degrees. And it was about 12, I think, when I got to work. So I roll in, get the horses fed, get old Bingo saddled, and drinking my coffee and flipping through the news on the phone, see what's going on. Go to Twitter. I didn't go to Drudge this morning. I wonder what the headline on Drudge is. It was probably even better than the one that I read. But so I went to Twitter, went to Google News, and then I was on I think Apple News for a minute. And they don't have their own news per se. They just they have their apps, and then they aggregate. What do they call that? Aggregator? Yeah. They put all of it together for you. And so this tsunami deal was trending on Twitter, and it was one of the main headlines on Google, one of the main headlines on Apple, and doesn't look like much on. Oh, yep. Volcano shakes Pacific. West Coast tsunami scare. Waves in Hawaii. California beaches close. Tonga takes hit. Set the stage of where we're headed with this little particular story. It's and maybe I'm just built a little different than some people, and I think a lot of it has to do with where I grew up out there on the high plains, where people kind of like to chase around tornadoes when they see them, and then get up close and take a lot of footage and whatnot. And then some people are lucky enough to get to do that for a living, and they become expert tornado chasers and shit. And it's a pretty cool deal. I've talked about the old tornado stuff before, where it's out on the plains where you can see them coming. It's kind of fun, but you get in the wooded areas like they had there in Kentucky, like that would get pretty spooky, where just all of a sudden there's this fucking tornado just blows through. Like, you're just like, man, it was real still there for a minute, and then wham! Like that's kind of spooky. But yeah, there's still some danger to it, obviously, because those things can change direction pretty quick, like, and well, fucking tornadoes. So it is kind of dangerous, yeah. But it's all in good fun. And I got to thinking about that. I've crossed a few off of my bucket list. I've not been in a hurricane, but I've survived tornadoes. I've survived a pandemic. I've survived a couple pretty big earthquakes. And, well, let's go survive a tsunami. I want to see a tsunami. And I'm like, Tonga. I don't know how far away that is from us. And I don't know how far it is from Hawaii. I'm not really sure where it is in the Pacific. I know it's an island somewhere. Like, I would assume kind of a Samoan island. Tonga kind of sounds Samoan. And but I just assume it's one of those South Pacific islands. I don't know where. But they had a volcano goes off. So this is the article that came up that I guess I got to hand it to CNN. It was their headline that I read initially, but as you well know, I do not view CNN as real news, and I also view them as incredibly unethical and immoral operation, and so not wanting to give them any further revenue, I went ahead and picked a different one. So this is from Yahoo News. Original is from the Associated Press, AP. So volcano erupts in Pacific West Coast under tsunami advisory. Wellington, New Zealand. An undersea volcano erupted in spectacular fashion on Saturday near the Pacific nation of Tonga, sending large tsunami waves crashing across the shore and people rushing to higher ground. The tsunami advisory was in effect for Hawaii, Alaska, and the U.S. Pacific coast. There was no immediate reports of injuries on the extent of the damage because all internet connectivity with Tonga was lost at about 6:40 local time, said Doug Midori, director of internet analysis for the network intelligence firm Kentic. Tonga gets internet via an undersea cable from Suva, Fiji, which presumably was damaged. The company that manages that connection, Southern Cross Cable Network, could not be immediately reached for comment. Tonga's Islands business news site reported that a convoy of police and military troops evacuated King Tupou VI from his palace, blah, blah, blah. In Hawaii, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center reported waves that measured a half meter or 1.6 feet in Wiliwili, Kauai, and 80 centimeters, 2.7 feet in Hanalei. The National Weather Service said there were reports of boats getting pushed up in docks, but the hazard was diminishing. We are relieved that there is no reported damage and only minor flooding throughout the islands, the Tsunami Center said, describing the situation in Hawaii. On Tonga, home to about 105,000 people, a video posted on social media showed large waves washing ashore in coastal areas, swirling around homes, a church, and other buildings. Satellite images showed a huge eruption with a plume of ash, steam, and gas rising like a mushroom above the blue Pacific waters. New Zealand's military said it was monitoring the situation and remained on standby, ready to assist if asked. The Tonga Meteorological Service said a tsunami warning was declared for all of the archipelago, and the data from the Pacific Tsunami Center said waves of 80 centimeters, 2.7 feet, were detected.
Well, sorry, folks. I hate to interrupt this riveting, transfixing conversation that I got going on right now, but I got some people that helped me put this show on the air, and I got to tell you about them right now. So first and foremost, we got Tracy Morrison, Custom Silver. He's out of Chelsea, Oklahoma. You know him from the show. You've seen his work all over my social media, and he just does a really good job of building cool cowboy shit. Buckles, bits, spurs, conchos, anything along those lines, he can hook you up. His engraving has, he has got way better. He was pretty damn good when I first started talking with this guy. But man, he's increased a bunch since then, and he's doing it full time now. So he's making really good work. He's pricing it for the working cowboy, and he's building it for the working cowboy. You can find him over on Instagram at @tmorrison _ custom silver. Let him know you heard about it on the Burnin Daylight podcast. Next up, we got Scott Jason Hall. You know him from the podcast as well. He's an old buckaroo cowboy, and he is a master jeweler. He can do goldsmithing, silversmithing, gold and platinum inlays, and he can also do repoussé, which is the cutting and setting of gemstones, just like this turquoise you see here. He made that for my wife, and he is an artist through and through. He also does a pen and ink sketch, and he's just, he's one of my good buddies, and just a hell of a cowboy, and even, just his artwork is just incredible. So you can find him over on Instagram at Cowcamp Life, or over on Facebook, Hall's Rocky Mountain Jewelry, and let him know you heard about it on the Burnin Daylight podcast. Next up, we got Brittany Hesseltine and Square Top Leather and Design. Brittany is making cool leather gear for the working cowboy and cowgirl. She's out of Pinedale, Wyoming, and she just does really cool stuff. She's making me a pair of leggings right now, and I can't wait to see how they turn out. She does, leggings, shotguns, bat wings, chinks, arminas, all that, head stalls, breast collars. She does purses for the ladies or for the dudes, if that's what you're into. We don't judge. Well, yeah, we judge a lot over here, but it's all in good fun. And hey, if you're a man and you want a leather purse from Brittany Hesseltine, you can find her over at Square Top Leather and Design. Got a underscore in between all the words there. So go check her out, give her a follow, let her know you heard about it on the Burnin Daylight podcast. And next up, we have Cardomex.com. They are hold on, let me get that pulled up. Cardomex.com. They are the best. Where are they? There we go. They are the best supplement company out there. They're owned and operated by a former Navy SEAL Sean Matson, and they're doing all natural, least amount of ingredients they can in all of these supplements. The hydration, the Hydromax. That's a really good one. I use that every day. The immunity booster as well. Got a bunch of adaptogens and a bunch of other shit in there that I don't know exactly what it means, but it sure makes you feel better when you drink it. Energy Intensifier, if you don't like coffee, or if you need something like middle afternoon, it's also use it as a pre-workout. I haven't tried the recovery accelerant because I don't work out a whole lot, and but I might try that sometime. I don't know. We'll see. either way, these two up here, immunity booster and hydration stuff, I use all the time, and you should too. Head over to cardomax.com, use the promo code MOVEYOURASS for 10% off. And next up, we've got Greens Reserve. They are a all natural. They're all natural tobacco alternative made from 100% hemp. And they got 3 flavors: menthol, wintergreen, and natural. I chew the natural. It's kind of like a straight flavor, like Copenhagen straight or a Skull straight. It's kind of the flavor of that one. Wintergreen and menthol, I haven't tried those yet, but I kind of want to try this menthol. There's no THC in it. I don't know if there's any CBD in it or not, but it seems like it kind of helps me focus a little bit. So a lot of times when I'm researching, I'll throw one of these in instead of Copenhagen. But it's a healthy alternative, and it's a cool product. And yeah, go over to greensreserve.com/shop. Use the promo code MattGR, and you'll get $1 off a can or $5 off a roll, and I get a little kickback from it. So yeah, if you're looking to try something different, check these guys out. And finally, if you don't like to listen to the ads, you can just head over to patreon.com/Burnin Daylight. You can sign up there at any of these levels, and you can get different benefits. You'll get ad-free episodes for every level, but each level's got different perks. Should you join, and helps me do some different cool things for this show, and whether that be new equipment or trips or whatever. And I'm going to get back to doing the giveaway every month, and we'll get some cool handmade gear for you guys to get a chance to win. So and it just, like I said, just helps me out. So I appreciate everybody that has signed up. We got 47, I think. 44. And so that's pretty cool. Anyways, thanks to everybody that supports this. And if you'd like to become a member, just head over to patreon.com/Burnin Daylight. Now let's get back into the show.
Let's see. Following Saturday's eruption, residents in Hawaii, Alaska, and along the U.S. Pacific coast were advised to move away from the coastline to higher ground and pay attention to specific instructions from their local emergency management officials, said Dave Snyder, Tsunami Warning Coordinator for the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. We don't issue an advisory for this length of coastline as we've done. I'm not sure when the last time was, but it really isn't an everyday experience, Snyder said. He said the waves slamming ashore in Hawaii were just under the criteria for a more serious tsunami warning. The important thing here is the first wave may not be the largest. We could see this play out for several hours, he added. It looks like everything will stay below the warning level, but it's difficult to predict because this is a volcanic eruption and we're set up to measure earthquake or seismic driven sea waves. First waves to hit the continental United States measured about 30 centimeters, 1 foot, in Nikolsky and Adak, Alaska. A wave of about 20 centimeters, or 0.7 feet, was observed in Monterey, California. U.S. National Tsunami Warning Center said in a tweet. Beaches and piers were closed across Southern California as a precaution. National Weather Service tweeted that there are no significant concerns about inundation. Strong rip currents were possible, however, and officials warned people to stay out of the water. On California's central coast, the National Weather Service reported tsunami waves up to 2.5 feet or 0.76 meters and flooding in beach parking lots in Port San Luis. About 200 miles down the coast, the waves were much smaller at Southern California's Seal Beach, according to Michael Pless, owner of M&M Surf School. The waves are looking pretty flat. We're hoping they reopen the beach in a couple hours. So there you have it, folks. I survived my first tsunami. Now, granted, I am in the high country. We headed for the hills that we lived in already, but I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to, be a survivor once again. The tsunami is a pretty big deal, and you heard that. The first wave was a foot high in Alaska. And guys, I really thought this whole surviving a tsunami thing was going to go a lot different. It played out way different in my mind. I'm not going to lie. So I was drinking my coffee and reading this article, and of course that's been updated since when I first read it. But as I was, getting to the article, in that little span of a couple seconds, deciding on which article to read, and trying to predict how this tsunami thing was gonna play out. I built this scenario in my mind where we're only a couple hours from the coast, so I don't know how fast a tsunami wave travels, and I'm not sure how far it is from Tonga, but I could be in San Francisco in about 4 hours, and so just load up the wife and kids and my good Mustang mare Molly, just 100% American made, hammer-headed, U-necked, feather-footed, just majestic beast of an American Mustang with the federal government freeze brand on her neck and all, and just load them up, haul it down to San Francisco. It's a good thing to bring a horse, because then I don't have to wade through the human shit to get down to the pier and just face this tsunami head on. I've like I said, I've crossed quite a little bit off my bucket list, and I'm pretty sure that the collapse of the American Empire is happening as we speak. It just those things, sometimes they happen overnight, but the cracks in the foundation happen over quite a long period of time, and but I think we're at the point where we're only a few more cracks, and this whole thing can down. And so if that's the case, if we're gonna see that within my lifetime, it's man, you never know how this thing could turn out, and it could end up being just a long, bloody, drug out civil war, and I don't know if I want to go through that. So why not just take this old Mustang and ride right into the face of that damn tsunami and just flap right into it. Just go fighting Joe Hooker style. Just blindfold my old Mustang and just whipping and spurring right into the face of that tsunami. And it sounded real, majestic as fuck is how I had it pictured in my head. In a hilarious manner, by the way, because you've seen my mare. She is my Mustang mare. She is a sight to behold. She is not an attractive horse at all, and she's got a really goofy gait to her. And so I'm just, she's feather-footed, and I'm just picturing just nothing but fucking hooves and head in the air snorting. And you're not sure if she's trying to buck, or if she's tripping, or is she kicking that back foot out, or she moves very strangely. And I'm watching this play out in my head and just flap right into Bingo doesn't like that. Flap, flap. He's all jumpy now. But just right into the face of this giant ass wave. Bam! And just go out with a bang. Just Matt McKinley, move your ass. We're burning daylight. Whap! Right into a wave, and there it ends. And you can like play "Don't Stop Believing" or something. And just as it fades into black, and to be, I think it'd be a pretty decent way to die. I always thought I wanted to have like a Viking funeral pyre, but in like a real big stock tank, and somebody just shoots me with a crossbow from a lawn chair to to light it on fire, and then you just have a kegger while my Viking funeral pyre is just burning in the middle of this stock tank. I might as well do it in the middle of winter too. Even if I die in the summer, just save it till the winter. So that way, like if you got a frozen tank, like whoever's got the biggest frozen tank, that's who gets to host my funeral pyre and party. And yeah, that was kind of how I wanted to go. But now I'm thinking this tsunami, and then I get to reading that article, and I'm just like, God damn it. You fucking got me, Associated Press. You, CNN, you as an accessory. Like, you trolled the ever-loving shit out of me. Just. And then like the more you read into it, and you're just like, Pacific Tsunami Center. Boy, you had this was your time to shine. This was your moment, fellas. There's a fucking volcano in Tonga, and the Pacific Tsunami Center is sprang into action. Just they are Johnny on the spot. Let's throwing out advisories. This shit's gonna be serious. The whole West Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, and the entire Pacific Coast. Advisory: shut down the beaches. First wave hits, and it's afoot. Hawaii, which is far closer to Tonga, I think, than the west coast of the United States. I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's what I believe. That's what I feel in my soul. And that's what I'm going to go with, even though I have the power to look it up. Right now, that will not serve my purpose. But in Hawaii, which I assume is far closer to this volcano in Tonga, was reporting waves of like 3.5 foot. 3.5 foot. So your Paniolo cowboys out there, well, your knees are gonna get wet with those waves. But the ones that they're recording in on the Central Coast, which is closest to where I'm at, they're like almost 3 foot waves, like 2.7 meters, something like that. I can go charging into the ocean for quite a while, and those waves would never even touch my stirrups. And not that my mare is a real big, tall bitch. She's not super tall, but man, it would take a wave a hell of a lot bigger than that to even get my feet wet if we were charging into this tsunami. And I'd be like, that it would be the lamest tsunami ever. And I was like, why do they need a tsunami advisory? Like, they're like, Well, what the hell? Tonga's getting all this coverage because they got pummeled by a volcano and now some tsunami waves, which makes sense being that the volcano was in fucking Tonga, that they would get some tsunami waves from that. But like we're just we're like the one upper. The United States is just a one upper all the time. Tonga's like, oh shit, we got a volcano and some big ass fucking waves, and we're like, yeah, you're not the only one affected by this, Tonga. Our entire west coast is under advisory right now. So, slow your roll there, Tonga. We're a victim too. It's just a constant victim mentality that we're in. And we can't let the Tongans just have their moments where they got fucked up and everybody feels bad for them. No, we gotta steal that thunder. We gotta steal that lava. See what I did there? No, we're gonna declare tsunami advisory for the whole West Coast and Hawaii and Alaska. I mean, the entirety of the Pacific Coast and Alaska and Hawaii. And because we can't be left out of the victimhood. That victimhood is currency, and you just can't be left behind when it comes to being oppressed. And what is more oppressive than a fucking tsunami? Oppressive and impressive, unless you're talking about the tsunami that hit our coast. That one not so impressive, but hey, the advisory, the fact that the entire Pacific coast and Alaska and Hawaii is under advisory, that is impressive. Okay? Never mind, the waves were only 1 foot to 2 foot and 3 foot in Hawaii. I think that maybe it was a real big one at 3.5 feet. So outside of that, they weren't all that impressive. But the fact that we had that advisory was just real impressive. And it's like 1 to 2 foot wave. That's like just dropping a big turd. Like when you get you've been eating just nothing but steak and potatoes for a couple weeks straight, and you just get like those good, just healthy big turds. They're very low maintenance, but then when they hit the water, they do splash. That's kind of what this tsunami was. It was a little bit exhilarating because you got some cold poop water up your booty hole, but when it's all over, you just feel kind of dirty, and you definitely don't brag about it to your friends, or at least you used not to. But with that victimhood mentality, we've all turned into a bunch of hypochondriacs too, and we've all the entire society has become that that old relative of yours who overshares their medical conditions, and they'll have 5-10 minute conversation with you about how they had to send in stool samples, and you're just like, I just asked how you were doing. I didn't need to know that they were concerned about the level of aminos in your shit. That was really not what I was asking. It was kind of a generic greeting, But we've all become that relative that's is willing and open to share about what the amino levels in last week's turd was, and how the doctor is concerned that maybe the gluten intake is going to have to come down a bit, and and just we're real concerned about that because Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, And there ain't nothing better than like a good homemade flour tortilla, which I don't think they've been able to make glutenless flour or wheat yet. They might have. Um, GMOs have come a long way, so maybe there's a glutenless wheat kernel that they make flour tortillas out of. But I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that. But that concerns me because Taco Tuesday is. That's just as American as leftover Chinese food. And so, I'd hate to get rid of Taco Tuesday. That seems like it'd be racist against like half of my own people. And I don't know if I want that hanging over my head. So I'm gonna go ahead and take another stool sample to him. The doctor didn't ask for it. I'm just gonna deliver it to him. And the next thing you know, like there's just nobody standing there talking to you anymore. But that's kind of what then the whole of society has become. There's just a bunch of oversharing about their medical condition, hypochondriacs, but also very competitively doing that so that you don't get left behind in the whole course of the oppression Olympics. So, it's a whole thing. It's a complicated situation, and but I feel like that's what this whole tsunami thing was, and it's funny how certain things just like for whatever reason they generate headlines, and how quickly, like it wasn't about like Tonga. It was about all the waves hitting the Pacific coast. The 1 to 2 foot waves hitting the Pacific coast. Like we had to take this what possibly could be a real natural disaster. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on in Tonga. But by God, we got those waves recorded here on the West Coast, and let's report on that. Let's make it about us, and fuck the Tongans. They don't even have satellite internet yet. They got to run a cable underseas from Fiji. Peasants. Who cares about them? But shit, you can't go to the beach in Santa Barbara. That sucks. No real reason that you can't, but it's for our own good, and let's seize upon this moment to take a potential tragedy and somehow make it about us. Let's just catastrophize the fuck out of it, and that will clear up at least a half a news cycle, long enough for the NFL playoffs to start, and then people will forget about that. And then maybe next month we'll tell you about how like 300 Tongans died. But hey, don't worry, we got that news about the West Coast Tsunami Advisory, Great Tsunami Advisory of 22. I'll always remember this day. I'll remember what I was doing, and I may not remember it, but somebody will always be able to let me know because I recorded about it, and successfully wasted how many successfully wasted, I don't know how much time, 32 minutes of your day. 33, let's see if I can stretch it out to 35. 35 minutes that you could have been using to invent something, solve a problem, do some good in the world, something that will benefit all of mankind. There's 35 minutes that you could have been using to do that. Instead, listening to me ramble and bemoan the facts that I got trolled by the legacy media, the corporate press, into believing that I was going to be able to take my Mustang and ride it right into the face of a tsunami and celebrate the end of the American Empire with a bang. But instead, I got fooled by a bunch of idiots taking something that is pretty newsworthy and somehow spinning it into us here in the United States, who will be affected by it absolutely in no way, but somehow still make it about us. So, how far did I get? 34 minutes. We'll call that good. I won't subject you to any more. But yeah, it's really, we've become soft. Like that is one of the softest things I've ever heard in my life. I can understand a little bit about like, hey, maybe Hawaii might be affected by this a little bit, or just even like, hey, let's try to get some word out of Tonga and see what the hell's going on down there. Let's see how bad it is. But no, well, let's not do that. Let's report about 1 and 2 foot waves and shutting down the beaches on the entire coast. We've just nerfed the edges of everything so much. Everything, we're just living in a giant world full of bubble wrap. No risks allowed to be taken. Risks are bad. Risks are dangerous. You might get hit by the tsunami waves. 1 foot tsunami waves. You know, that's a big enough wave to drown an infant and probably a lot of toddlers and probably even more stupid people. And if there was some really bizarre made up scenario where there's a bunch of infants, toddlers, who are unattended, by the way, unattended infants and toddlers and incredibly stupid people all gathered on the West Coast at the same time, like laying down in, 6 inches of water, and then these 1 foot waves hit, and we were able to simultaneously drown a bunch of unattended toddlers and infants and incredibly stupid people in this bizarre made up hypothetical scenario, then yeah, then you could consider a 1 foot wave like a real big problem. But outside of that entirely bizarre and absurdly stupid made up scenario, that tsunami posed no threat. Not even like begin to resemble a threat to safety on the beaches of the West Coast. But hey, the fact that they were able to make that story about us somehow is fucking impressive. And good work, Associated Press. Good work, CNN. Good work, Yahoo News. Yeah, you got me. It was a good troll. I appreciate a good troll. So, anyhow, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Be sure, if you're listening on Patreon and you're wondering where the Cattle News Central shows are, I do not put those on Patreon since that is not my show. That is Mackenzie's show. She's just putting it on my platform. So all of her podcasts will be Monday through Friday. They publish at 5 a.m. Eastern time. And they are on the main Burnin Daylight feed and YouTube channel. So you can find them there. You have to listen to ads because she's got sponsors and set her show. So it's on the main feed. I don't put it on the Patreon feed. I apologize for that, but that's how it is. So anyways, have a good week. Watch out for any tsunamis coming your way. They can really get you. They can sneak up on you quick. So better safe than sorry, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Rumbling boxcar rolls through the night, and old Jake sleeps down in the straw, and Roni rocks with the rhythm of the train as it follows a track to Omaha. Little bit of gray creeping up around Roni's nose, and old Jake is weary from 500,000 throws, but they can still catch one running away, and they both dream about the wild old days when there wasn't a up to the boat, and nobody ever heard of a Wild West show. Well, how many brands does that old cowboy burn? And how many wild steers his pony turned? You know there weren't silver trophies back then. The only prize was one you couldn't win. 'Cause how can you measure being totally free when God was man's only law? Was no boundary, and there wasn't a wire from the Rio Grande up to the boat, and nobody ever heard of a Wild West show. Of Omaha, another crowd, another town, another sin. Wild Indians, reckless cowboys, stagecoaches and outlaws, and a couple old buffaloes still remember when wasn't a wire from the Rio Grande up to the boat, and nobody ever heard of a Wild West show.